Hey everybody, in this video we are going to be comparing the two new Radahn weapons that you can get in Shadow of the Erdtree. So starting off, spoiler alert, this is going to contain a lot of endgame related stuff, so if you don't want any more details in that regard, I would recommend waiting to watch this video. Okay, you've had your chance. So as mentioned, this is the weapon that we're going to be taking a look at. This is the Greatsword of Radahn Lord version, however there's also the Greatsword of Radahn Light version. They look basically the same. And then just for completion's sake, we'll also compare this to the original Starscourge Greatsword as well that you get in the base game of Elden Ring. So you get these by turning in the remembrance of a god and a lord, which you get from defeating the final boss of the game, which is Radahn. You have the option to get one or the other. However, you can duplicate the remembrance to get both of them if that's what you want to do, which is what I did in this situation. I do also have all three of these fully upgraded to plus 10, so you can see it from that perspective and the impact that it has to each one in terms of stats and damage output. So now taking a look at the stats for each one when fully upgraded, the first thing to note is that the two versions of the Greatsword of Radahn share all the same primary stats. So if you look at the physical and magic damage numbers, the attribute scaling and requirements, those are all going to be the same. The main difference between the two is the skill that it comes with. So for the Lord version, you get Promise Consort, which costs 20 FP with an additional 10 FP for each of the two optional follow-up attacks. So that's 40 FP total if you do the full sequence. And then on the Light version, you get the Lightspeed slash attack, which costs 32 FP, which can also be charged for additional power. Comparing that to the Starscourge Greatsword, you can see it has slightly more base damage and the attribute scaling is a bit different. So with Starscourge, it's going to be more strength focused with a B for strength and a D for dexterity, while the Greatswords of Radahn have C for both of those stats. And then all three have the same intelligence scaling at D. For the skill, this comes with Starcaller Cry, which costs 20 FP to use with an optional 20 FP follow-up attack for 40 FP total if you do the full sequence. Moving on to the moveset of the weapons. So all three of these are the exact same, so regardless of which one you use, they're going to attack the same way. I'm also only going to cover the two-handed regular attacks for this weapon, since the way it's designed, it really doesn't make any sense to use it any other way. When you go into two-handed mode, you pull out that second sword, and only the regular attacks take advantage of that additional damage, which is fairly significant. So starting off, we have the regular attack combo. As you can see, it's using both of those swords to get additional damage. Here is the rolling regular attack. Here is the backstep regular attack. And then we'll do a sprinting regular attack. And then finally, we've got the jumping regular attack. As mentioned, that's going to look the same for all three weapons. However, in terms of actual damage output, I did do some testing on this guy behind me here, and you can see the results of that on the screen. So both of the Radahn swords do the exact same damage, while the Starscourge looks like it does a little bit more. That being said, I tested this with 50 strength, 50 dexterity, and 20 intelligence on all three. And given that the Starscourge has slightly different attribute scaling effects, you could maybe optimize that a little bit more. But overall, they basically all three do the same amount of damage. So that kind of leaves the weapon skill as the primary differentiator between all three of these. So we'll go through those. I'll demonstrate them so you can see what they look like. Then we'll look at some damage output of each one, as well as some gameplay, just so you can see what they look like in action. So starting off, we've got the Promise Consort. This is on the Lord version of the Radahn sword. So this has 3 total inputs that you can do. If you just tap the skill once, that's what it looks like. However, you can do 2 follow-ups, which looks like this. So first input, second input, and then the final third input, which is pretty awesome. Moving on to, let's do the Lightspeed slash. So this is on the light version of the Radahn sword. Let's get a little bit more FP just to be safe. So again, this one kind of has 2 different versions. You can just single tap it and do that single attack. However, you can also charge this one. So if we hold down the button and charge it, you get a slightly more powerful attack. And then finally, looking at the original Starcaller Cry on the Starscourge sword. So this one again has two attacks. The first attack, that just sucks in enemies towards you. However, if you do the follow-up attack, so first input and then second input, that then slams them away from you. So that's what all three look like. Now we'll take a look at some damage and actual gameplay of these. Starting off, we'll go through the Promise Consort on the Lord version. So we'll do just a single input, and then we'll also test the full sequence. So starting off, just the one single input, that gets 2,984 damage, and then if we go through the full sequence, that is 8,456. Next, we've got Lightspeed Slash. So again, we'll do just the regular single input. So that's 1781, and then if we do the full charged attack, oh, I need some FP. That is 2,652. And then last we've got Starcaller Cry. So for this one, we'll just go through the full sequence because it doesn't really make sense just to do the first input alone. So that is going to get us 786 plus 2,843, so that's 3,629 total. You can also enhance these skills a bit with some talismans. So a couple ideas I was playing around with. First, just generally using the Shard of Alexander, so that just increases the attack power of skills, so that's applicable to all three. However, specifically looking at the light version of Radahn's sword, you can use Godfrey's icon as well, which enhances charge skills. So if we equip that along with Shard of Alexander, and then we do the Lightspeed Slash attack again, the charged version. So that increases the damage to 2,844. And then looking at the Lord version of Radahn's sword, one idea I was kind of playing around with, which I thought was interesting, was the Rotten Wing Sword insignia. So this raises the attack power with successive attacks, and because that skill does have a lot of successive attacks, you get the benefit of that. So with that equipped, if we go through the Promised Consort attack again, we can see the impact of that. So going through the full sequence here. So that increases the damage of that to 9,587, I think that's what it was. So not only is it a damage buff to the skill, but then it also activates that attack power, which is nice. So if we go through that again, if we look at our status, you can see top right, my attack power is 1681. And then if we go through the full sequence, get that attack power buff. Oops, wrong button. That gets, we're at 1924, so it sort of bounces around as you stop attacking and whatnot, but we got up to about 1900 attack power with that, so just sort of a nice additional benefit of that as well. Now we'll take a look at some gameplay where I'm just going to demo using these skills in a variety of situations. And just for context, this is all going to be the base level version of the skill, so I won't have any of those talismans equipped. Okay, so wrapping things up after all that, personally, I'm left feeling a little bit disappointed in the 2 new Radahn swords, unfortunately. And honestly, if I had to pick one between all 3, I'd probably just stick with the Starscourge Greatsword. Again, going back in time, I probably wouldn't waste Ancient Somber Smithing Stones getting those upgraded to +10. The moveset is the same across all 3, so you're not getting anything new there. And really the main differentiator is that skill that it comes with. Playing around with all 3, I just found myself getting the most use and utility out of that Starcaller skill, which is on the Starscourge Greatsword. The other 2, I mean, they're new and they're cool and they're different or whatever. I just didn't find myself wanting to use them as much, and when I did, I just kind of felt like I was forcing myself to use them just to use them. So ultimately, my recommendation would be just to stick with the Starscourge Greatsword. Where this weapon excels, in my opinion, is the jump attack. So I would build around that with the Jump Claw Talisman. And then again, using that Starcaller Cry is really good for clearing out groups of enemies. So that's kind of where I'm at with this. Hopefully that helps. Thanks for watching, and we will see you later. Bye.